How does this episode actually exist, man? I don't know, dude. Listen, I'm not even supposed to be here. I'm in the middle of finals. My original plan going into this week was minimal YouTube content. There's no chapter, there's no episode. I was like, you know what? This is my week to focus. This is my week to go in and completely pass, all of my finals. So that I can get out of this, get right back on track, we're in like swimwear. But I wasn't anticipating episode 1015 to be this glorious. I was expecting peak. But to have this, to have my favorite episode ever made coming out on Saturday night at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern was something I was not prepared for at all. Yo, dude, I've had 2 days. 2 days! Not a SpongeBob thing. 3 days! I've had two to process this. I've rewatched it on my own with my friends, with reactions. I love this episode so much, I rewatched it in Spanish. I rewatched it in my native language because I had to make sure I wasn't dreaming. I had to make sure that everything that I was watching was factual. That it wasn't something I was fabricating in a language that's not my native language. No, this happened. This took place. Yo, man, dog. Dude. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna get it off my chest, man. I'm in the middle of finals, but I gotta sit down and talk about this episode for at least a couple minutes. At least a couple minutes, man. Because it's been rent-free. I can't stop watching it. It gets better and better on every watch. And I want to give a massive thank you to everyone who does reaction videos. Whether you're a channel that does anime reactions because you like seeing how it's adapted like I am, or you're an anime-only reaction channel. Trust me when I say that I appreciate you. Because every time a great episode drops, like a really, really good episode drops, I watch a lot of reactions. But when a Hall of Fame episode drops like this, they come in so clutch, man. So a massive thank you to everyone who does reaction videos, because you come in so clutch for moments like this, man. Because this was without question one of the most special weekends ever. And to know that this is only the beginning of Roof Piece, that this is only the beginning of the greatness, is just like, yo, I mean, listen to me, man, listen to me. Room shambles. I mean, bro. Shambles. I mean, no. Shambles, bro. Shambles, dog. Every single frame in this episode I could put up in my room, I could put up in front of my house, plaque it. I mean, yo, dude, listen, man. Dog. What they did with the Yamato section in particular is something that I can't process it. Like, no matter how many times I go through it, I just can't believe that this was within a One Piece episode. When Luffy and Roger, that by itself is just, whoever thought all of this up, whoever decided to make all of that a reality, whoever thought up the idea, whether it was the same person who animated it, whatever the case may be, whoever came up with the idea to, when Yamato hears Luffy's dream, goes inside of a picture book, lives the flashback with the pages going through, because you know that's exactly the way she experienced it, due to the fact that because she was stuck here for so long, she had to live it within the text. And that's something I've always loved about Yamato's characters, because Yamato lives vicariously through others and through the legend of Odin, right? Like, to her, that's a fairy tale. That's a real individual that lived, but it's a fairy tale because it inspires her. She's able to escape through the text. And so she's able to live through it. And so when we get those pages there, Roger starts speaking, and then you have Luffy come up with Roger, and I love how even the color coordinates to where it splits. You have the Roger side, the Luffy side. Luffy comes in and adds an entirety there. Oh my gosh, man. It just looks so magnificent. But that scene when Yamato hears them both say their dream, they both say the goatness, and then you have it just, it's like, it reminds me whenever I watch Liz and the Blue Bird, and like the crazy thing happened, and you see the bird coming through, and you have like those scenes that you see like in movies that are just, that's the scene. We had that with Yamato this week, but it hits so hard because you know how much that hits her in particular as an individual that looks up to these larger-than-life figures who are real, who looks up to Roger and Oden and Whitebeard, these great men, and now she's waiting for the GOAT. And it's like, yo, so when you get that scene and you have all of that, you have all the birds coming out of the page, and it's just visually, it is the greatest scene, man. It is so GOAT. Like, I can't believe that scene exists. That is a scene that I thought was only going to be done in like a Disney Pixar film, like a Studio Ghibli movie or something, right? I just can't believe it's a One Piece scene. And it fits so well. And then when you get back to the present, or not the present, in the flashback, and she's like, "No me reiré," you know, I won't laugh at him, which is a scene I love so much in the manga. And they elevated it because that scene by itself elevated Yamato to where she is right now for me, and one of my favorite characters in the entire series. And this episode took that to a level even further beyond that, because what took place after that was almost exclusively anime-only content. And it was so brilliantly handled with her and Ace, and her connection to Ace. That scene, that reminds me so much of Kizu Monogatari, where she's striking her chain when the Viver card burns up. It's gone. And she wants to go out and save him. She knows something bad is happening to him, and just tries to just to cut off her hand, destroy the chain. Like, yo, I want to go out and save my only friend. That scene hits me every single time that I watch it, man. It hits harder every single time. And it's just what they did with this Yamato and Ace flashback in the anime, they made it a Hall of Fame flashback for me. It is without question one of my favorite flashbacks in the series. That's how special they made episodes 10, 13, and now this episode. Phenomenal stuff. And the way that it connects to the present with the transitions, and then don't even get me started on the second half, man. I mean, dude, Monkey D, GOAT with the GOAT Luffy. And what I love so much about this is when the original chapter 1000 came out, that episode made me realize just how much I love this dude. Or that chapter, chapter 1000. Like, this is really my main protagonist. This is my MC. This is the GOAT with the coat, right? And what this episode did is it did that times a million. When you have the hat over the eyes energy that you got in this week's episode, the way that all of that was handled and animated and adapted was just, I mean, bro, all props to the people involved. We had like the greatest all-star cast ever, and they just delivered, man. They just delivered on all fronts to give us one of the greatest, I think, episode I've ever watched. And it's insane, man. Like, the Red Rock sequence, how does that exist, bro? When you have that entire, when Luffy goes up to when he walks in between Big Mom and Kaido, and Zoro's ready to box, dog, and he just keeps walking, disrespecting both of them, and then you get to see it from his first-person perspective as he sees Kinemon, and then it flashes to the reality. Oh, man. And then right after the Kinemon scene, Kaido pops up with the savage that he is. He's like, yo, shut your mouth. Luffy comes in, Law, the straw hat that he is, listens to his command. But then you get into that scene where you go and you get to see the inside of Luffy's body as he's like experiencing some sort of peak. Like, his body's peaking as we're seeing it. And what I love about this is it connects to that original episode in Act 2, where we got to see, remember whenever Luffy put out his hand like this, and we had like the flower petals coming out, but we saw that same type of animation to represent that. And we went back right to that with this episode. And so when he enters it and you get the flashback, I had been wondering how they were going to handle that flashback sequence because they could have interrupted the pacing. But they did such a marvelous job. That might have been the best flashback sequence. For like previous material, that I think was the best flashback sequence that we've ever had. For, like I said, for old material. Like, it was just insane. If the picture book stuff from the earlier on the episode doesn't count, then that one was just, because they could have easily just reused the same clips they've been using this entire time, but no, they went above and beyond. And so when you cut out of that and you get to We Are the Stampede version, it's like, yo, you get Luffy right on top of it. When he delivers the Red Rock, the thing about the Red Rock that makes it so special is that for us as manga readers, when we saw the Red Rock, we saw it from up top and we were like, oh, like it was insanely hype. It was crazy. It was like, what is this technique? But in the anime, when you get to see the massive flames and the fact that each individual frame has like a different drawing, like I was just mind blown with the Red Rock. I was like, are you kidding me, dog? Like every time I watch it, it gets more and more hype because you're like, oh, bro. Just bro with the Red Rock, and when it actually lands, nah, dude, the most fire panel ever, right? Like this arc has given us so many just fire, screenshot-worthy, amazing stuff. Like my favorite one up until this point was Luffy holding the coat and being like, "Yo, this is, I'm a pirate, so I'd rather wear this." And he's, he puts on the coat, legendary stuff. That was an anime-only sequence. And it was absolutely incredible. But in this episode, when you get the hat over the eyes, because that panel in the manga was so goated. But when the that scene in the anime was so peak. Luffy had so many of those in this episode. And it's like, I know I'm biased, right? Because this episode mainly was about the Yamato and Ace connection, that connection to the go with the coat, and then of course, the greatness of our boy Monkey D. Luffy. But I think even if I wasn't biased towards those two characters, this would still be an amazing episode because it's just, you can't ask for a better adaptation than this. This goes beyond imagination. This is something that all of us had been so excited for. Chapter 1000's adaptation, Roof Piece, finally here, and they somehow, somehow surpassed all expectations. And it was just absolutely downright phenomenal. I can't stop rewatching it. I won't stop rewatching it. It is without question the GOAT, man. And to know this is only the beginning. I don't know when's the next time we'll ever have an all-star lineup like this again. We've had 1017 being hyped up lately, right? So that could be another very, very amazing episode. But this one right here, no matter what happens from here on out, will always remain a Hall of Fame level episode. Because I didn't think this was possible. I did not think that for a weekly series, something like this would be possible. I think this episode might look better than every single One Piece movie. And I'm being very, very honest about that when I say that. Like, I think it looks better than almost anything I've ever seen. Like, it's crazy. It really, really is crazy. I remember earlier this year when I was watching the Demon Slayer episodes, I was like, these look like movies. This is crazy. And now to have this once again with the One Piece episode, where I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my goodness. This legit was a One Piece movie, bro. Like, this week's episode had the amount of care and just production value behind it that it really did feel like a One Piece movie. It was insane. It was a 23-minute One Piece movie about the go with the coat. And what better celebration about this series than to emphasize on the themes of freedom and dreams and how that affects the individuals that are here, than to have that represented visually within the Yamato section and within the Luffy section. And it was just so goat, man. Like, there was so many little bits and pieces. Like, whenever Luffy lands the Red Rock and Zoro just smiles like, yo, that's my captain. Like, that's my guy. I love it. Because you already saw Zoro. He was ready to box. But he was like, no, hold on, man. He's about to go over to Kinemo, and he's not even worried about those two. Kaido might not worried about those two. And it was so goat because of the way that the anime showed it as well. The anime showed it from behind the perspective of Luffy with the coat. And see below his legs as the camera panned in, and we see Big Mom and Kaido as these massive menacing figures. Whenever I was in this one class, they taught me about the value of camera positioning, and how, if you notice in a Star Wars Episode 4, you always see Darth Vader from like below. to give him like that menacing type of vibe, that this guy is greater than you vibe. You know what I mean? Like, and so that was intentional. And what I like so much about this week's episode of One Piece is that it carried that same type of vibe where Big Mom and Kaido were always shown, no matter if it was from the side or from the front, they were always shown as just these massive figures. Huge. So much so that whenever it showed their faces, it showed their full face. Like as if their full face was so huge, it took up the whole screen. And but when you got to see their bodies, it's like, oh my goodness. They're massive. And so when you get little tiny Monkey D. Goat walking in, and even though he's much smaller than they are, the presence is much higher. And it's like, yeah. So it just all of that from the positioning and the camera angles, the lighting, bro. The lighting in this episode, especially during the storybook section, then the Ace and Yamato section. Oh man, dude. And then the second half, the lighting was too goated, especially whenever he's walking through Kaido and Big Mom. And you get to see the lighting change as he's walking. So you get to see the lighting change. The shadows are moving from side to side as it's insane, the attention to detail. It is insane. And the fact, shout out to Presno, my dog, for pointing out the fact that Prometheus was the individual, or they used Prometheus as like as a source of light in order to represent like the orangish type of color palette that we had for that second half of the episode. It was because of Prometheus, and I was like, yo, yeah. I love this episode. Shout out to Kid, man. Yo, the Kid hype was real, dude. This man was ready to box, and I was like, yeah, let's go. And Killer too. When you got to see his vein, I was like, nah, man, this is crazy. Everyone who was involved was just elevated, you know, and I'm so weak to the Ace stuff, as I'm sure we all are. Anytime we see Ace in flashbacks, it just hits so hard. But this week's in particular really, really hit hard. Like, it hits so hard, man, because you feel Yamato and Ace's connection. The character acting in particular when it comes to those two. And their relationship, their dynamics. You know, when Yamato was doing a little cute, going like, oh, what about me? You know? And it's like, it just connects you so much to their story. And then Ace, dog, like, I miss him so much. Like, why do you have to die, man? I just want to swing on him. Even though he's in the ground, I just want to swing on him. Like, why do you have to die, bro? That's my boy, man. I love Ace. And so when you get an episode that pays homage to the legendary Ace, then we get a whole different side of things, that how Yamato was dealing with Ace's death. And it's like, man, oh man. And then on the other side, it's like you get the Kid greatness coming in to box Kaido and Big Mom. Law comes in as raw as ever. Mr. Law is raw. Zoro comes in as Tarzan. And then the Go with the Code with the most epic entrance of all time, bro. Of all time. The soundtrack placement was at its absolute peak. Like I said before, the character animations, the character acting, the scene by scene, the transitions, the everything. It was the greatest episode I've ever watched. And it's probably going to remain that way until another episode comes along that surpasses it. But for right now, I can't believe that this episode actually exists. I can't, man. And I'm looking forward to watching it even more as the days come by, especially since this week there's going to be no chapter episode. It's going to give me a lot of opportunity to go back and continue to watch some more greatness. So for those of you who have also been in the same mindset as me, watching as many reactions as you possibly can, going out and rewatching the episode, whether it be on your own or like I said with the reactions, let me know your updated thoughts on this episode. How much have you been enjoying it? What are your favorite parts of the episode? I would love to learn some more about that in the comment section down below, because we got to keep celebrating this episode. This was an achievement, man. This is an achievement, dude. I can't believe it exists, and we're so blessed as fans of this series to have something like this under our belt now. Like episode 1015 of the best-selling manga in history's adaptation was this goated. Roof Piece actually is this goated, bro. What we were looking forward to the most was actually this goated, and now there's even more peak incoming, and we're not ready. We're not ready, man. I'll see y'all next time. Have an awesome day. Goat Piece 1015, man. Favorite episode ever, bro.